Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be previewing the Houston Rockets Game 7 against the Golden State Warriors. The Houston Rockets will try to get revenge, and I know if there are any, obviously there are, but any of the Rockets fans that have been Rockets fans since 2017-18, that run, or before. I mean, like, I started watching the Rockets in the 2016-17 season. That year, they lost to San Antonio Spurs in the second round playoffs. I know the year before that, they did lose to the Warriors a couple different times before that 2016-17 season. The Warriors heartbreaks I first started to deal with was this 2017-18 season in the conference finals, and then the 2018-19 season in the second round in 6 games. But there were other Warriors heartbreaks before that. But I know the one that hurt the most was the Game 7 the Rockets had, where there was no Chris Paul, but the referees also really made a lot of bad calls in the Warriors' favor, with some of the illegal screens that the Warriors made, or some of the foul calls that were not called for the Rockets in that game off 3-point shots. It was a really, really bad game for this Houston Rockets team. They played poorly, yes, but there was also other things that did not go out for the Rockets in that Game 7. The Rockets will try to get revenge. This is a completely different team, though. It really is. Nobody on this roster from 2017-18 season at all. And not only that, completely different coach. The only thing that remains the same is the same owner, the same ownership. That's it. Tillman Fertitta is the only one from this Rockets team that is still with them. Since that 2017-18 heartbreak. That was Tillman Fertitta's first season as the Rockets owner as well. Funny enough, but. So you hope that this Rockets team can, get it done tonight and win. This is the best game. This is gonna be the biggest game these guys have ever played. The Rockets have ever played in this era of this young team of Amen Thompson, Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, those guys. Even if Jalen Green's been struggling, he is a part of this young roster. You look at Fred VanVleet, Ime Udoka. I wouldn't say this is Ime Udoka's most important coach game he's ever had. He's coached multiple Game 7s. He had a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals with Boston. He had a Game 7 in the second round against Milwaukee. Fred had a Game 7 in the second round against the 76ers, where we saw Kawhi's amazing shot. And Fred's also played another Game 7 in his career, I believe, against Boston in the second round in the bubble. That was a loss. So I don't think Brooks has played a Game 7. So, there are guys on this team that have played important playoff games like this. Fred has played important playoff games like this. Look, and also I think you can count the young guys on this team playing important playoff games. Being down 3-1, being 3-2 like the Rockets have been in the last 2 games, those are important must-win playoff games. So I don't think you can say this that you have no playoff experience when in the last 2 games your back's been against the wall like the Rockets have been. And these young guys have played extremely well in these must-win playoff games with no experience. And so I don't think that you can really use the experience thing anymore when such a team with such small experience has done what they've done in the last 2 games, winning a Game 6 on the road, down 3-2 after winning the previous game, and now 3-3. And now the Rockets are going to try to come back from 3-1. It hasn't happened since 2020. No disrespect to the Denver Nuggets from 2020. I love Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and especially what they did in that bubble season, because Jamal Murray was going on a crazy run in the 2020 bubble. So coming back from 3-1 is impressive, especially if you do it twice in one postseason like the Nuggets did in 2020 in the bubble. But it's much easier to come back from 3-1 in the bubble compared to when having actual fans. So we talk about how the Lakers championship doesn't fully count. Then neither of those Nuggets 3-1 comebacks. It was still impressive, but it still would have been much harder for that Nuggets team if there would have been fans. So that is what I would say with that. And I believe the Nuggets that year, the Jazz did have a better record. So if those games were actually played in NBA arenas, they would have had to play Game 5 and Game 7 in Utah. Same thing if they were playing the Nuggets that year played the Clippers, they would have had to play Game 7, Game 5 in LA. So the Rockets have a chance to do something that really hasn't been done since 2016. The last time a team came back from down 3-1 when there were fans in the stands was 2016, when actually it would be back-to-back the same victim. Last time this happened, the victim was Stephen Curry. LeBron James came back from down 3-1 in the NBA Finals, and Stephen Curry and the Warriors went down after being 73-9, giving up a 3-1 lead. And so the Rockets trying to be the first time, the real first time since that. And this is also could be the third time in franchise history the Rockets would do this, because the Rockets were down 3-1 in 1994 against the Phoenix Suns and Charles Barkley and came back. The Rockets were also down in 2015, down 3-1 to Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and the Los Angeles Clippers. And thanks to Josh Smith and Corey Brewer, the Rockets won Game 5 in a huge fourth quarter comeback, and then won the next 2 games in that series and won in 7. Another thing I will note is NBA teams when down 3-1 and hosting when down 3-1, coming back to win Game 5 and Game 6, and then playing Game 7 at home. The home teams in Game 7 are 9-3 when being down 3-1. And then hosting Game 7 at home. So that number is on the Rockets' favor. Another number that is on the Rockets' favor is Tony Brothers is calling, he's going to be one of the referees in this game. The Rockets this season went 5-1 with Tony Brothers announcing their games. Now, here's another thing that the Rockets need to go their way. And look, I don't talk about politics on this channel. I'm not going to start, but you got to hope Ted Cruz doesn't show up at this game. That has nothing to do with politics. It just simply has to do with what has happened when Ted Cruz shows up to the games. And I think you can see it. The curse is real. It is real. When the Rockets lost Game 7 against this Warriors team in 2018, he was there. Same thing with many playoff losses for the Astros, many playoff losses for the Longhorns, and other Texas teams. To me, it has nothing to do. I don't care about politics. I don't pay attention to it that much or really care about it. But one thing I do care about more than anything is sports, and especially my Houston sports teams. I know one team he's cursed has been the Dallas Cowboys. Continue to go to Cowboys games, man. As a Texans fan, I don't think he's really cursed the Texans that much. I think he's a Cowboys fan and not a Texans fan, but continue to curse the Cowboys. That's fine. But it's just, and the thing I don't understand is like, I'm really big with superstitious things. Like, for instance, like I've gone to, I don't know how many Rockets, I went to a good amount of Rockets games, and I think they only lost one game that I went to this year, out of maybe like 5 or 6. And so, but if let's say they weren't doing well, let's say they were 1-4 in those games, or they were maybe 0-5, or maybe just 2-3, I wouldn't want to go to. It would make me not want to go to the games. I mean, I don't know if I would turn it down if someone offered me, but I definitely wouldn't want to go to a game if the team was 1-4, 0-5 when I went. I think that's the way a lot of fans are. If the team has bad luck when you go, their superstition is very common with sports fans, and so I just don't understand why someone would want to continue to go to games when you see what happens when you go to the games. And so that's one thing that I think that you'd hope for the Rockets tonight is that man doesn't show up. It has nothing to do with politics. It just happens to do with superstitions, and superstitions are real. And so, that's one thing that needs to happen. But if we get back to basketball, the Rockets need to not turn the ball over. They need to shoot well at the free throw line. That has been the thing that's hurt them. I saw Alperen Sengun say today that in the games that they've lost, they've beat themselves. If you look at the first game, they beat themselves with terrible shooting, turning the basketball over in bad free throw shooting. Game 3, beat themselves by bad free throw shooting. Game 4, bad free throw shooting. So their losses in this series have been because of bad free throw shooting or turnovers or bad shooting in general. Game 1, I think, was really the only loss you could look at and say, okay, this team shot terrible, and that's why they lost. The free throw shooting has been really the main of some of these losses. So you've got to shoot well at the free throw line. You've got to not turn the basketball over, and you've got to just shoot well and play well and just play big, because this Rockets team is much bigger than this Warriors team. So if you play big, there will be no problems because the Rockets will dominate. The Warriors, if the Warriors, here's the other thing I will say. The Warriors, they have their starting lineup. Draymond Green is their center. Their center is 6'5". Draymond Green is 6'5". The Rockets, Alperen in their starting lineup. If you don't look at Jabari Smith Jr., Alperen, Jabari Smith Jr. or Steven Adams coming off the bench. You've got Sengun, who's almost 7 foot. You've got in the starting lineup, obviously Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks. That's where things get bigger for the lineup. But when the Rockets also run with Sengun and Adams and Jabari in the lineup, the Rockets have Jabari, who's 6'10", 6'11", Adams 7 foot, Sengun 7 foot. The Rockets do use those three guys on the floor at the same time, and when they do, that's dangerous because the Warriors do not know how to match that size, and that's why they start intentionally fouling Steven Adams to send him to the free throw line. So yeah, I think this is going to be a fun one for the Rockets. I don't know if I can take another Game 7 loss to this Warriors team. I'm going to be pretty heartbroken if it happens again. I think the Game 7 in 2018 is the only game I've ever actually cried about in watching the Rockets. I've watched a lot of playoff losses outside of that. That Game 7 was heartbreaking for me. And so I don't know if watching it, if it would be bad for this Rockets team, it would not only would it be bad for this team, but it would also bring old PTSD from the Game 7 of 2018. And so, but I think this Rockets team is a Game 7 win against the team that dominated the old era of this Rockets team from the James Harden era, to get a win against this Warriors team with Steph and Draymond and Steve Kerr, who were still part of it. And they've still got, look, I think you look at the Warriors main core that faced the Rockets of Clay, Draymond, Steph, KD, Steve Kerr. Those are the 5 main core. The Warriors still have got 3 of those guys. And so to take them down in 7 games tonight with one of the most heartbreaking losses of the Harden era being a Game 7 loss against this Warriors team would be an absolutely amazing way to start this era of new Rockets basketball with a Game 7 win to go on to play the Minnesota Timberwolves in the second round. I think the Rockets should have their eyes on Minnesota and hosting Minnesota in the second round, because I do believe the Houston Rockets will win this Game 7 tonight and head on to the second round, which will be big for their franchise. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section on the game, and peace out. Go Rockets.